Oh, he's going down the chimney. Great. Oh, crow. I just saw the crow on the chimney. You did? You see him?
No, I don't see him. I don't know where he went.
Across the forbidding reaches of the frozen north. As comrades on the battlefields of war. Seeking even the faintest scent of a buried victim of disaster. Or a hiker who has lost his way. And he is the devoted servant of the ill, elderly, and handicapped. We will never know exactly how this unprecedented partnership came about or when. But one story tells us, in the beginning, God created man. But seeing him so feeble, he gave him the dog.
To better understand our world, ourselves, and our future, this program is made possible by the people of Chevron. Chevron, giving thought to television.
Additional funding provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Every year since 1877, a stylized ritual has been repeated in Manhattan. The Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show, the World Series of Dogdom. Some 2,600 dogs, all purebreds and prize winners in other shows, will compete. Westminster now welcomes 130 breeds and varieties. There are 52 million dogs in the United States. While some romp in the yard or sleep by the fire, others are being carefully primped and primed to take home ribbons.
Right. Oh, right. What do you think, huh? Bye.
Give me another kiss. Good boy. You're a sweetheart, aren't you?
That's $50. That's a show special. Normally $79.95.
Oh, you know what I just saw
Down there.
a charm holder with a Doberman head on it.
Low sodium diet for your dog. It's an all-natural diet with no added preservatives, colors, or flavoring. Boy, that'd be great. Okay? Try that out on him, and if you live in Manhattan, there's a store that delivers for you right on the bag.
While most show dogs today perform no labor at all outside the arena, historically their ancestors worked side by side with man. In fact, our unique and splendid partnership with the dog began as a working relationship, as long as 10 to 15,000 years ago. Over the centuries, many of their jobs became obsolete. One that has continued is tending sheep. In New Zealand, sheep outnumber people 20 to 1, and a saying goes, no dog, no shepherd. No shepherd, no sheep, no wool or meat. With dogs at their side, New Zealand farmers now rank second in wool exports and are near the top in meat products. Some of New Zealand's backcountry is so remote, it is only accessible by helicopter. The dogs may not like the ride, but where the shepherd goes, so goes his devoted dog. Grant and Robin Calder run a sheep station on New Zealand's South Island. Grant is a champion breeder and trainer of sheepdogs in the tradition of his father and grandfather before him. Much of New Zealand is mountainous country, suitable only for grazing. Without the sheepdog, this would be wasteland. Working their 13,000-acre property with no additional hands, the husband and wife team herds 7,500 sheep.
It's a fairly unusual partnership that husband and wife work a farm like this together, but thanks to the dogs, we can manage to do it. Without them, we just couldn't do it. We have 2 sons, but they're still at a boarding school because of the distance we live from a school. And so Grant and I are here mainly on our own for most of the year, and all we really have to help us is our dogs.
A useless farmer could come onto this place with my team of dogs and work out how to work them and actually make a living here. But if you took my dogs away and left me on this place, we would be broken 12 months. Yeah, up. Come on, I have to give you a name.
One of the 2 types of dogs the Calders breed is called a huntaway. Grant begins training at about 3 months. Huntaways work the sheep from behind, facing away from the shepherd.
It's the first signs of a pup starting to work is to go over there like that and chase those sheep. If I put a string on that pup, the noise would start coming, and that's the makings of a huntaway dog. Few sheep over there. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy.
Even early in the training, a simple tug of the string keeps this pup facing correctly.
Good boy. Good boy. Good boy.
This 6-month-old pup is learning not only when to bark, but when to stop, once the sheep obey him or the shepherd commands him.
Will I go, Danny? Will I go, Danny? Come here. Good boy. That's good. Good boy. Oh, you love it, don't you?
The second type, working the Calder sheep, is called a heading dog. They virtually never bark, but control the sheep entirely with their eyes.
She tries to mesmerize them. She can introduce herself quietly, looking straight into the sheep's eyes.
Twice a year, the Calders round up from the high country 2,500 of their sheep, for shearing, to send to market, or in this instance, to be dipped to protect their wool. Robin works on a high ridge, and Grant is lower down as they and their 10 dogs begin to pull the flock together. Because sheep in New Zealand have no natural enemies, they have never developed a herding instinct and therefore spread far afield. dogs are tireless and would literally work until they drop. It's not unusual in the course of a day for them to cover up to 50 miles. Over the years, man has channeled the dog's ancient hunting instincts into herding and driving behavior. Shepherds command the dogs with words or by whistling.
They're just basic commands. A run command. You want him to run slowly, you can vary it. Left hand. Right hand. Stop. When he's finished the job, you got two commands to call him off. One's will I go and the other one is will I go. It's hard to believe how tough dogs are. And on this property, they work in extreme conditions and all types of weather. Even with a dog in those sort of conditions, everything might be against him. He might have cut feet. He might have snowballs built up on him. They will always try and run. They will always try their best to do and complete the job that you put in front of them.
Like army sergeants on alert, the dogs keep the flock moving. In 1 week's time, the remarkable team of 2 people and their 10 steadfast dogs have completed the roundup.
Dog's work's never done, and when he finishes on the hill, he comes into the real hard work of slogging in the hot yards. The hotter it gets, the more the sheep put their heads down and won't go. And we tend to only work with 1 or 2 dogs in the yard so we can alternate them so that each dog gets a turn, because it is hot, dry, dusty, dirty work.
Because of the intense heat, the tired sheep often don't want to move, creating traffic jams in the tight confines of the pen. To find the offenders, the dogs simply make a sidewalk out of the backs of the sheep. After a chemical dip, for protection against external parasites, the sheep will be set free to wander up to the high country again to graze until the next roundup. And then, once more, when the shepherds head for the hills, their canine partners will be by their sides.
For us to spend a day on the hill, horse and dogs, the companionship and love and hard work that they give to us, you could never receive from any other animal in the world.
Today, forward-looking New Zealand farmers are raising an unlikely animal, deer. The antlers are used in Oriental medicine, and the market for venison continues to increase worldwide. Deer are more aggressive than sheep and harder to control. But the shepherd finds it no surprise that the versatile dogs easily meet the challenge. The New Zealand farmer and his dog have become a world-famous partnership. Today, more than 200,000 such dogs are on the job across the country. Probably the most photographed is this one, a public tribute to the dogs that help keep the economy so vital and alive. The origins of the domesticated dog lie shrouded in the distant past, but it is generally agreed that the dog evolved from the wolf, or that both share a common ancestor. Wolves and dogs have the same basic anatomy, physiology, and patterns of behavior. And underneath the dog's domestic facade lie the instincts of a predatory hunter. Wolves live and hunt in packs, unlike other meat eaters, such as members of the cat family that ambush their prey. Wolves stalk, chase after, and run down prey. However, as the wolf quickly learns, even with the cooperation of the pack, he is no match for an animal as large as a bison. The mainstay of the wolf's diet are animals the size of deer, small moose, or elk. Pack behavior is strictly regulated by a dominance hierarchy understood by all members. In the dog, pack loyalty is basically unaltered, even after thousands of years of domestication. The main difference is the dog looks to man as leader of the pack. Modern-day scientists have pondered why early man, himself a flesh-eating hunter, would have turned competitors like wolves or wild dogs into allies. Animal behaviorist Dr. Michael Fox, one of the world's leading experts on wolves and dogs, has one explanation for how the partnership may have begun.
Well, I feel that dogs and humans came together because of their similarity in lifestyles, to the degree that we hunted in small packs, we were gatherer hunters, and the dog-wolf ancestor was like that too. And it's quite probable that the early hunting societies found that dogs were pretty good allies if they were properly socialized to help locate and even ambush prey. Dogs, in their long association with us, have powers of manipulation. In one sense, we've domesticated them, but they have domesticated us too. We have the situation where the dog will come up and just look at you and look at you, and you have to feed it. The dog knows how to touch your heart. They have a power in the eye. Some people think that their dogs have ESP, that they know what you're feeling and thinking, but they're acute observers of our body language. You know, depressed, or happy, or anxious. They're reading all that all the time, because that's how they communicate with each other too.
In finding out about each other and the rest of the world, smell is the dog's primary tool. It is said their ability to smell is at least 500 times greater than our own. Their hearing, too, is better than ours, but they see less well and are colorblind. There are 350 recognized breeds of dogs in the world. Regardless of outward differences, they are all the same species, Canis familiaris. Their wide diversity in appearance can often be explained by the work humans have bred dogs to do. In the language of his native Germany, Dachshund means badger dog. His short, stubby legs and narrow body made him ideal for squeezing into burrows after prey. Terriers, too, were bred small and low to the ground, so they could plunge into dark holes in pursuit of rats or foxes. The name terrier comes from the Latin word terra, or earth. Whippets and greyhounds are long-legged and sleek because they were bred for hunting and racing. Firehouse mascots today, Dalmatians, were companions to charioteers in ancient times. In Elizabethan England, they gained fame as coach dogs with a calming effect on the horses. The regal Chow Chow boasts a 2,000-year history in China as hunter and guard. For centuries, dogs have helped man hunt. Today, we've made them highly specialized. Pointers only point, nose high, body frozen in place. And retrievers only retrieve, joyfully leaping into even frigid waters to bring back their quarry. From From predatory wild animals, we have created, regardless of breed, the most adaptable and sociable of all domesticated animals. It is not precisely known when we first put dogs to work as entertainers, but one of the most famous, adored by countless millions, is Lassie. Bob Weatherwax, son of the original Lassie trainer, is now preparing the 7th generation Lassie for an upcoming television series.
Hey, come on!
To get the 7 dogs who have actually appeared on the screen, Bob and Rudd Weatherwax had to breed more than 200 collies to get just the right coloration, intelligence, and temperament. On screen, the Lassie character has always been a female, but in reality, all Lassies have been male collies, because males tend to have a more luxuriant coat and greater stamina. The Lassie legend began in the 1940s with a dog named Pal.
Originally, Lassie and Jim hired their own collie to do Lassie, and it was a female dog, which is what Eric Knight wrote the story around, because it had to have puppies. And my father's dog was hired as a double dog, and it was a male collie called Pal. And I think he knew that the other dog couldn't do this performance. And they had a spot where Lassie had just come from Scotland back to England, and he had to cross a river, and it was a nice scene.
The genius of Rudd Weatherwax came through in this scene, in which he taught Lassie to look naturally exhausted, as if it weren't a trick at all.
Lassie, come home.
Come on, Crawl. Easy.
The mind of the dog, no matter how bright he may be, cannot conceptualize, look tired. But the dog can obey a series of off-screen commands, given in a specific order, that result in the tired look the audience sees.
Sweet. Stay. Stay. That's the boy. Stay.
Compared to many dogs that bring a large measure of instinct to their work, dog actors start out as a blank slate. Because they are intelligent, they are capable of learning. The motivation to learn, the willingness to behave in such undog-like ways, is based simply on the dog's desire for human praise.
Dog's man's best friend. I think they're the most domesticated of all animals, and they want to please. They want to be with man. It's like A for effort. They'll give you that effort. All right, come on. Hup. Hup. All right, come on over here. Come on. All right. Take a bow.
The Earth's ice-locked polar regions could never have been explored without dogs. In the early 1900s, sled dog teams brought Peary to the North Pole and Amundsen to the South. When northern regions were settled, dogs became an essential part of life. Until the advent of airplanes and snowmobiles, dogs alone transported mail and supplies, pulled sleds, took hunters in search of prey. Today in Alaska, the pioneering spirit of that earlier time is celebrated in a grueling 1,100-mile race. Beginning in Anchorage and ending in Nome, it covers a distance roughly the same as from Seattle to Los Angeles. Its name, Iditarod, is said to come from the trail that was once the lifeline linking far-flung villages in the interior. Two-time champion of what is called the last great race on Earth is 33-year-old Susan Butcher. A world-class athlete and now a celebrity, she is going for an unprecedented 3rd consecutive win. She hopes to beat her 11-day record and take home the $30,000 first prize.
5 minutes till we drop you. I've been racing in the Iditarod for 10 years now, and I think over all the years, I've been basically in the top 10, and I think that all comes from my training ability with the dogs and the time that I spend with them and the conditioning that I put on them. And then the rest has to be up to the dogs. I've got good dogs, and I bred them and raised them purely for long-distance racing.
Many observers feel that the time Susan spends with her dogs and the affection she lavishes on them are key elements of her success. As they approach the starting line, Susan's team will be the 9th to take off. 53 teams will leave at 2-minute intervals.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Over the years, I've really seen that the dogs love to race and know what it's all about. When they see a team in front of them, they'll pick up their pace and want to pass around them. And what I found out is they know then when there's no other team in front of them because there's no dog scent on the trail.
In 1975, when she moved to America's last frontier, the adventuresome 20-year-old first lived in a tent, then single-handedly built a log cabin. She was 30 miles from her nearest neighbors, 50 miles from the nearest road. She started out with only 3 dogs, and today has a breeding kennel with 130. Susan raises only Alaskan Huskies, a line bred from Eskimo and Indian dogs.
Well, I changed the teams around today, David.
Susan runs Trailbreaker Kennel with her husband, David Munson, himself a champion racer.
I was born in Cambridge, Massachusetts, but I've always felt I was born in the wrong century and in the wrong place. And so I kept moving north and west, and I've always loved animals, and they've been the most important thing in my life. And so I was looking to incorporate living in the wilderness and working with dogs, and I found the perfect thing.
Where's your babies? Who are they? Are you guys? Hello.
In the early days of sled dog racing, breeding was often a haphazard matter, but Susan Butcher knows that good racing dogs don't just happen without careful planning.
Every summer, I raise a number of puppies, between 50 and 100 pups. And I'll pick out 2 of my best dogs. Usually if I have a very fast dog, but maybe it doesn't have a good enough coat, I'll breed it to one with a good coat. But the most important thing is that they have bred into them the desire to pull and the desire to travel.
And travel they do, every day with either Susan or her dog handler. These 4-month-old pups are learning that running is fun and that being with people is fun.
There's a lot of mushers that don't really like to make their dogs into pet dogs and feel that they have to keep them very separated and make them a working animal only. But I feel that the best thing that you can do with a dog is to really bond them to yourself. So we're just trying to teach them to respect us and trust us and vice versa. I have to trust my life in their hands all the time, and they should learn to trust me with their life. And then when you're out there racing, that trust is what's going to make you able to win.
Are you gonna be my next all-time best leader? Are you gonna be my all-time best leader?
Every night, Susan and David bring a few dogs into the cabin for extra attention. It's done as part of Susan's training strategy, but also because she quite simply adores her dogs. All but major veterinary chores are handled by Susan herself.
Getting full. Okay, put her down.
When one of her lead dogs was critically ill, Susan flew him to Anchorage for treatment. She slept on the vet's floor for 10 nights to be near her dog.
Every fall is a really exciting time for me and for the dogs. As the temperatures get colder, we just develop a certain excitement towards winter. When it starts to get cold, the dogs just start making a lot of noise, running around their chains. They're just antsy. They want to get going. They just show me in many ways that they're ready to roll, ready for the racing season.
All the adult dogs are run 3 to 4 times a week throughout the year. As with all athletes, conditioning is vital to their performance. When snow cover is too thin to be safe for the sled, the dogs pull an all-terrain vehicle left in neutral gear. To some 200 miles of trails, Susan adds new ones each year to keep the dogs from getting bored.
A lot of people would look at my life and think it's a lot of hard work, but for me, it's a labor of love, and I spend all day long with my dogs and work with them, and I'm my own boss. There's no one telling me what to do or at what time to do. I live way out here where I can go anywhere and do anything at any time of day, and I love that freedom. The best things for long-distance racing dogs are fast trotting speed, and then they have to have good feet, and then you just want them to have a good attitude. Their heads are bent and they're just going for it, and they're paying attention to you and you're paying attention to them, and you just are working as a team.
Like a coach with marathon runners, Susan gradually increases the length of the runs. Her goal is 50 miles without tiring. The dogs, never more happy than when on the trail, joyfully oblige. "12 to 16 hours a day, the routine seldom varies. The culmination in March, the chance to compete in the most punishing race on earth. The mushers, as sled dog drivers are called, brave temperatures that can drop to 40 below. Except for one mandatory 24-hour rest stop, they may sleep only an hour or so each day, and only after the dogs are tended and fed. The route can be potentially treacherous at every turn. In 1985, a moose attacked Susan's dogs, forcing her out of the race. On the last leg of the race, along the frozen Bering Sea, mushers encounter the most severe weather. It is Susan Butcher's 10th day out, and she is trailing, as she has for most of the race. Now a violent storm has forced temperatures to plunge. Swirling snow has obliterated much of the trail. Both Susan and the dogs are pushed to the limit of their endurance. The storm has thwarted her nearest competitors, who have stopped to wait it out. Undaunted, Susan Butcher charges on. In Nome, expectant crowds gather. The ham radio operator at the last checkpoint has reported that the first musher might reach the finish line at any time. In 11 days, 11 hours, and 42 minutes, a jubilant but exhausted Susan Butcher becomes the first person ever to win the Iditarod 3 consecutive times. Susan is a full 14 hours ahead of any other musher. Some will not cross the finish line for several more days. Amazingly, Susan could have made even better time than she did if she had wanted. But she put the safety and well-being of the dogs above all else.
It was a matter of either go for a record competing against only father time and no other musher, and possibly take more out of the team than I like to, or just to take good care of the team and be well satisfied with a victory, and I thought that that sounded a lot safer.
Susan and racing enthusiasts everywhere know the real tribute belongs to the bravery, love, and indomitable spirit of these magnificent dogs. On an ordinary street in an ordinary California town, a drama, anything but ordinary, is quietly unfolding. 17-year-old Mike Knowlton was born with spina bifida, a disabling birth defect of the spine that occurs in 1 to 2 out of every 1,000 babies born in the United States.
Good girl. Good girl. Like it? Oh, yes, yes.
Are you ready for more money?
Mike must be cared for by his parents, Joy and Dale Knowlton, where he is totally paralyzed from the chest down. Mike walked on his own for many years. Then, without warning, his condition worsened.
The last time he was walking was right about here. And at that point in time, he had to have support from one of us to move his legs.
When we were told he was paralyzed and a wheelchair was going to be with him the rest of his life, Michael went into a depression for about 2 years. It was very hard for him to adjust.
Now a dog has come into Mike's life, and the depression has lifted. Her name is Zest.
Zest has made a major change. If I didn't have her, I don't know what I would do. She just really helps me a lot.
A unique organization called Canine Companions for Independence, or CCI, brought Mike and Zest together. Using dogs to guide the blind is a well-known success story. CCI pioneered the idea that dogs could also help the wheelchair-bound. During an intensive 2-week training program, students master 89 commands.
No, don't touch it.
For their safety, as well as the dogs and the public's, they must gain total control over the animal's actions. CCI instructors have spent 6 months training the dogs.
All right, good boy.
Get him happy, everybody.
One of the most important jobs is retrieving.
Look, pet it, bring it here.
Keys are especially difficult because of their uneven edges, and dogs dislike the taste of metal.
All right, good boy.
Because they will be going home to very diverse environments, the teams are put into as many real-life situations as possible during the 2-week course. Today, on a college campus, the dogs encounter some other dogs that at first they think are real.
These are the kind of things you guys need to anticipate and know it's going to come up. These things happen all the time. All right.
Some in the class have driven in vans equipped with electronic lifts, but none has had prior experience with a bus. For the dogs, too, this is a first.
Remember, this is as new for her as it is for you. And even though it's new for you, you have to portray to her that you're confident.
Okay, Jess. The most frustrating part was having them tell me to have the dog do something and the dog wouldn't do it, and they wouldn't tell me how to get the dog to do it. But my biggest thing was, would I be able to make it through the 2 weeks? Because I kind of had doubts.
Jess. No, Jess. Jess. Come on.
She should come to you, not go around behind there. She doesn't understand that concept.
Okay, so what I do to get her?
You need to do what you need to take care of yourself and your dog.
I got to start over again.
The sheer physical exertion would cause some to simply give up. But Mike is determined. Finally, he and Zest are successful. Even for those with the use of their arms, fatigue is a major factor that often keeps them housebound. Dogs are a wonderful solution, for they will pull tirelessly. At the end of the 2 weeks, the last hurdle is the final exam. Of the more than 300 teams that have gone through CCI since it began in 1975, 90% of dogs and humans have passed.
We'd like to give them a chance to wrap it up.
In this group, everyone has succeeded, and they gather to celebrate.
Training a dog is a lot more. There's a lot more going into it than I thought. But last 2 weeks I've learned a lot, and it was fun. But I wouldn't want to do it again.
With well-deserved pride, the class arrives for graduation, threshold to their new independence.
As you can see, this is quite a loving team. Throughout their lives, there's always going to be a lot of love and commitment on the part of these two. Mike worked very hard in this class, and so did Zest, and congratulations to both of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike and Ziggy.
The diplomas, appropriately, are inscribed with both names, student and dog alike.
Mike and Zest.
Today, Mike is a high school senior. Having Zest has helped Mike vastly broaden his horizons. And now, for the first time, he is considering going on with his education. A vocational school, where he thinks he might study computer science. Whenever Mike is working, Zest has been trained to rest quietly by his side and not disrupt the classroom. But at those moments when he needs her help, Zest knows it's time to work.
She does things like picks up papers or pens. It makes me feel independent. I don't always have to ask somebody. I can just go to Zest, tell her.
All CCI graduates report a dramatic rise in self-esteem because of the dog's role as icebreaker. People who normally feel awkward approaching a person in a wheelchair do not feel uncomfortable in the presence of the dog.
I'm real shy, and the last couple of months, it seems like it's easier to go up to people because most of the time, people come up to her, and then I kind of get into the conversation. So it helps me to get to know people.
We didn't realize that kind of a bond could be between a dog and a person. It really gives us a different perspective. We didn't realize that the dog could do as much for Michael's emotions as this dog has done.
Okay, Zest. Come here. Zest, look. Help switch, Zest. Tap it. Tap it. Come on. Okay, Zest. Come on. Go to bed.
A boy needing help and a loving canine at his side. Perhaps nowhere is the age-old covenant between man and dog more poignantly felt than here. In Northern California, one man remembers a partnership with dogs that many people have never even heard of. For the 13 months he served in Europe during World War II, Joe Simpson fought alongside a dog. They were one of the earliest teams in what was known as the Canine Corps.
In 1942, the Canine Corps was formed by a group of civilians from the New England Dog Training Club. And Dogs for Defense was formed at the same time, and they picked 14 GIs out of 5,000 volunteers. And fortunately, I was one of the 14 picked, not because I knew anything about dogs necessarily, but because I was in the horse business. And this is how I got started in the Canine Corps.
Patriotic families everywhere across America volunteered their dogs to help the war effort. Rovers, Spots, and Fidos of all descriptions were sent off to an uncertain future in the Army, Marines, or Coast Guard. Like their human counterparts, all dogs were examined for fitness.
Any new man that came in got a new dog. And they taught us to make the dogs heel and sit and down and stay and all the obedience commands. And these dogs then went through the training with the master. And then when that was through, certain ones that were fit for attack training, if they had enough aggressiveness in them, were put into attack classes. And the dogs that were better for messenger work were trained for that. Some dogs were trained for pack dogs. So it was quite a course.
In Europe, dogs were used in World War I, but this was our first use of them in combat. Some 10,000 served in many of the bloodiest battles across Europe and the South Pacific.
If we needed to send a message back to the forward outpost, we had a messenger collar that we'd put the message in and put it around the dog. And the dog had to learn that when this collar was on him, he was to run as fast as he could back to the other master.
Messenger dogs had to develop equal loyalty to two masters because they worked by going from one to the other. To ignore the noise and flames from exploding shells was hardest to teach.
The dogs didn't have to reach up and tap us on the shoulder to tell us there was some Germans over there. We knew by watching our dog and being able to read the dog. This is very important with anyone working a dog. If you can read the dog, then you'll know what the dog is trying to tell you. And I owe my life to my dog, and I'm sure a lot of the other handlers would say the same thing.
Joe Simpson was one of many who brought their dogs home after the war. Intensive demilitarization programs retrained the animals before they were allowed to return to civilian life as the gentle and loving pets they had originally been. One phase of training similar to that for war dogs is used in search and rescue work. More than 70 such groups now exist across the United States. All volunteers, they work alongside law enforcement teams in wilderness rescues and the aftermath of disasters.
Go through? No cheat.
It takes hundreds of hours of training before a team can be sent on a mission.
Go through.
Early on, a dog often needs to be coaxed.
Okay, try that way again. Want to go through? Go. Go through all the way. Oh, good girl. Good girl.
What handlers look for is not the breed itself. Many breeds are used, but qualities like intelligence, curiosity, and self-confidence. The dogs must be taught agility so they can safely negotiate boulders and other obstacles in the woods, as well as piles of disaster rubble. Shirley Hammond is both a handler and a trainer.
What we do is we start the dogs out very young if we can, although we can start older dogs, teaching them on an agility course. We do a lot of ladder climbing with the dogs, and this teaches them to use their back feet. Their back feet just normally follow their front feet, and they do not develop a knowledge of back feet unless they're taught to do something, feeling what they're putting it on and feeling for stability with it.
Good dog, Tasha! Good girl! Good dog!
This 12-week-old puppy confronts a ladder for the first time. In addition to the obstacle course, they train on a rubble pile that simulates a disaster area. The uniform and helmet signal to Shirley's dog, Cinnamon, that now they are working. Trained not to follow her instincts to jump off the unstable boards, Cinnamon zigzags across the rubble in what is known as air scenting, trying to pick up the victim's scent on the air currents. She has been trained to cover the entire area thoroughly. Once the victim, in this case a volunteer, has been found, the dog's job is to scratch and bark to alert the handler to the area with the most intense scent.
We'll flip that one back. Is he there?
Oh, look up there! What did you find, Sid?
Finding the victim is the dog's primary reward. It is essential that physical contact be made so the dog knows she's done her job well.
Yeah, you found him. You've got him where you want him now, boy. Yeah, I got him where I want him.
That was good.
Did you find him, huh?
In 1985, Shirley and Cinnamon were one of 13 U.S. search dog teams that made a vital contribution in a real-life disaster, the devastating earthquake that racked Mexico City. The soft subsoils underlying the city and inadequate building codes were blamed when hundreds of buildings collapsed. Thousands were injured, thousands more left homeless. As many as 10,000 died.
It was really hard to believe because there were buildings standing with glass and beautiful structures that were just pancaked to the floor. This is the building that was 11, 12, 14 stories. Suddenly it's down to 10, 20, 30 feet high because some of them actually sank down into their basements. They went that far down.
Can you come? Up, then climb. In you go.
12 hours a day for a week, the teams searched through the twisted rubble. Hundreds of people surely lay trapped, but where? And could the dogs find any of them in time?
Stand, stay, stay.
They'd cock their head and listen with their ears as if maybe they might even be able to hear the victims after they would bark, as if they were kind of calling to them by their barking. And the other side of that coin, of course, is when they did locate someone buried under the rubble that was gone, deceased. It was a very low-key reaction, just a little pawing and a little whining.
Amazingly, even at week's end, victims were found still clinging to life. Only hours old when the quake hit, this baby was trapped for 9 days. Doctors cannot easily explain her survival. Others see it simply as a gift from God.
The Mexican people were just wonderful to us, and it was a warm, warm feeling. They were so appreciative of our being there, and it was really a very unique position to know that you were doing something that was helpful and that your dog was able to do it. And it's a feeling that says, this is what we've done it for. All the times we've been wet, we've been cold, we've been tired, we've been hot. This is real, and it's so exciting, so exciting.
Many thousands of years ago, some long-forgotten caveman welcomed a wild animal into his home to share his fire and food. Through the centuries, the dogs that evolved have remained our enduring helpmates and unfaltering friends. Our own success as a species is due in no small measure to the fact that a canine partner has been by our side. Intelligent and loyal beyond measure, dogs ask little from us in return for their unquestioning devotion. In fact, most dogs do not see work as work, but thrive on serving us, simply for the praise of a job well done.
Yep.
In commenting on this age-old partnership, one author has written, "We give them the love we can spare, the time we can spare, the room we can spare. In return, dogs have given us their absolute all. It is, without a doubt, the best deal man has ever made."
And good evening, everyone. I'm Charlotte Nichols in the MPT studios, inviting you to pledge your support for this wonderful National Geographic special, Those Wonderful Dogs. I hope you've enjoyed this special look at the history of dogs and the role they play in hunting, herding, rescue efforts, and of course, helping the handicapped. Truly, man's best friend. But right now, you can be our best friend by going to your phone and calling 1-800-248-MPTV and making a pledge to support public television. And of course, that's quality television in your viewing area. You can charge your pledge on your Visa or your MasterCard. We have volunteers here from Long Foster Realtors. They're anxious to take your pledge of support. And stay with us because we're going to a very special program, John Wayne's Standing Tall, hosted by Wayne's longtime friend and co-star, James Arness. This program includes dozens of movie clips, news footage, interviews, and many comments from the Duke himself, talking about his life and work, his politics, and his feelings about America. We'll have plenty of interviews in it with President Ronald Reagan, Senator Barry Goldwater, and others, including Hollywood stars such as Angie Dickinson and Rich Little. But right now, please go to the phone, won't you, in these next few seconds and make the very best pledge you can for public television. This is MPT, my public television station, and I encourage you to make it yours right now. Give us a call and make a pledge at 1-800-248-MPTV.
To better understand our world, ourselves, and our future, this program was made possible by the people of Chevron. Chevron, giving thought to television.
National Geographic has been a part of just about everyone's lives. An institution unto itself, the National Geographic has been able to take us to so many places, teach us so many things. And for years, MPT and Public TV have formed a partnership with the National Geographic Society to bring an excellent magazine to even more people through television. No matter what the subject, National Geographic covers it best. That's what you're paying for with your pledge of support tonight. The best programs possible. No one else had the foresight to put National Geographic on TV. No one else was willing to invest the kind of money needed to get the job done right. No one else except Public TV and you, its members. Want more National Geographic specials on MPT? Then send money. In every corner of the world, through every jungle explored, the one thing National Geographic or the producers of any of the other nature and science shows have not been able to find are those trees that grow money. Well, we'll keep looking, but in the meantime, we need your help. And when you call in tonight and pledge, we'll make sure you get a great thank you gift free. It's a limited edition keychain, the 20th anniversary MPT keychain. For a pledge of just $30, we'll make sure you get this keychain. Please, call in now, 1-800-248-MPTV. And we'll also make sure your name gets entered into our winner's circle. It's a contest and an attitude. The attitude is that everyone who calls in is a winner because you get the great programs you love. But the one lucky winner tonight is going to win a VCR. Now, someone has to win this prize. It might as well be you. But you can't win until you enter. And entering is so easy. Just call 1-800-248-6788. We'll do the rest. Now, the phones are ringing, and that is most gratifying. Thank you. But we still have room for you. Call now and be a part of everything that's right with TV today. Charlotte?
Well, you know, Jack, all of us, I imagine, have had a pet, a dog, perhaps, that we think is very special. And I was just looking over the shoulder of one of our volunteers here from Long and Foster Realtors, and a woman in Severna Park, Maryland, just made a pledge, but she wanted to dedicate it in the name of her dog, Phoebe. And that's a great idea. I know if you enjoyed this National Geographic special, Wonderful Dogs, what a great idea. If you're a member, perhaps go ahead and call, make another donation to MPT and put it in the name of your dog. That's not so strange, is it? Man's best friend? I think it'd be a great thing to do. Or become a member and just tell us your dog's name, or if you have a special dog, let us know about it. It's a family atmosphere here at MPT, and truly the National Geographic specials are what really bring that home. Right now, though, we have something very special. A 7-minute time clock is going to start right now for a new member challenge. You see the number there on your screen, and it's counting down for the next 7 minutes. We have a new member challenge, which means when you call and make a pledge at, say, the $60 level, we will be able to match that pledge, and the amount coming to MPT will be even more to help us continue to go out there in the marketplace and find wonderful programs like Wonderful Dogs. And again, if you like, make that pledge in the name of your dog. I had a dog that I thought was just as good as Lassie for many years, and I'll never forget when she died years ago. It was really quite a traumatic experience in my life. We get that close to our pets, don't we? Because we share so many things with them. And it's sort of like MPT. We feel like we share a lot with you, too. And this is a thank you gift to you, by the way, at the $60 level, which I'd like to suggest right now. It's only $5 a month. You can break it down in installments. It's our handsome MPT 20th anniversary tote bag. And it is the 20th anniversary of this great, wonderful institution, MPT. It's our family. It's my public TV station. And I hope you will make it yours right now during this break. Don't put it off. Don't hesitate. Do it now. You will feel great. And do it for yourself, because it will come back to you in the days and weeks ahead. And don't forget, you can charge it on your Visa or your MasterCard. But call now. And Stu, I bet you had a favorite dog at one time, did you?
You're absolutely right, and that's coming from a cur, mind you. I had a beagle, and you wanted to know the name of the beagle, kind of in the Scottish family? His name was Heather McTavish. A beagle named Heather McTavish. See this gentleman right here? Was he surprised the last call? It came in from his wife, really. Janet Schellenberger called. John answered the phone, and he said, "How much are you pledging?" He said, "I hope it's on the credit card." But actually, you know, it's a good idea. We actually are now having members of MPT say to you, if you call now, call tonight, and pledge in any amount you can afford, we will match that pledge. The members will, that is. You call for $30, they'll match it with another $30. It means $60 to us. Is it important? Yes, that $60 goes to new programming that you will enjoy in the months and schedule to come. So keep all the phones busy. People from Long and Foster Realtors giving of their time to answer the phone. We've got a few empty phones waiting for your call. Now, we've also have the MPT Winner's Circle. This is the last night of it, but you can get involved right now. We have a tremendous prize. You call in, your name will go in that fish barrel you see over there, and perhaps you'll win a tape recorder courtesy of Circuit City to us and courtesy of us to you. That's the prize we'll award later tonight, and you pledge in any amount, your name goes in there. But the idea is to pledge. Keep all the phones going. This is the time of night we like best here at MPT. The phone number is 1-800-248-MPTV. Jack?
As Stu says, if you've been thinking about calling and haven't gotten around to it, no better time than right now to do it, because you have just 4 minutes left. If you call in now, whatever you pledge will be doubled in that challenge. So if you pledge $60, it's worth $120 to MPT. Now, that's not only good to MPT, but also good for you, because it means you're going to get better programming. That's right. So call in now, 1-800-248-MPTV. Now, do you ever feel different after watching a program on MPT? You know, sometimes I'll watch a documentary like tonight, for example, and I'll feel like I've really learned something. I remember watching countless episodes of National Geographic and becoming so involved that I felt a part of the program. If you've ever felt moved in some way by an MPT program, then you know how I felt. You have what we call the symptoms of membership. Besides feeling changed or different, other symptoms of membership are knowing you're benefiting greatly but not giving much back. Finding it more and more difficult to find something you like watching on other stations. Feeling as if you are doing something more with your time than just passively watching TV. You have all the symptoms. You know the value of our service. Now you need to act. Call now and give an amount proportionate to your use and enjoyment of MPT, my public TV, and yours. And hers, my partner on TV and off, Susan White-Bowden.
This is our night tonight, Jack, isn't it? We have the...
Our night, meaning ours and the viewers.
Yes, well, because of National Geographic and the dogs. I mean, we both love dogs. And we left our TV on so Dusky and Blaze wouldn't get lonely and they could watch a program they could identify with.
That's true.
Plus, you can identify with John Wayne standing tall, right?
Yeah, I'd like to think so.
You know, as I have traveled around this region, this public television region, over the years that I covered Susan's people for Channel 2, I discovered many, many people who had made a commitment to one cause or another. And lots of times they were animal stories of people who cared about animals and people who were helping animals to live a quality life. Well, isn't that what it's all about? All of us making a commitment to something we believe in. Well, that's what we're asking you to do, to make a commitment to NPT because you believe in it. You wouldn't be watching right now if you didn't believe in it. So if you believe in it and want to become a member, as 67,000 are across this region, then go to your phones now and make that commitment. Become a member of this growing family that ensures that there be quality television in this area that we can all go on enjoying. I mean, there's something there for all of us. And MPT viewers are selective viewers. And that's what we're counting on, is that they select the program that they want and enjoy and make a commitment to it. Stu Kerr is standing tall tonight, right, Stu?
I have no idea what you said. It's so darn noisy back here. I guess I'm on the TVs, am I not? Right. Listen, by the way, at times, all of the phones have been busy. So for goodness sake, if you call and get a busy signal, call back. And we have some people that have called that have dedicated the pledge to their dog. Lady, a Dunkirk, Maryland dog. Socks and Pogo from Chestertown. Bibis from Severna Park. And listen to this one. This one I don't believe. Fido, spelled P-H-Y-D-E-A-U. How's that? There's a real classy Fido. How about your dog? How about your call? 1-800-248-MPTV. Call right now. Charlotte.
Well, Stu, it just reminded me that, you know, we were enjoying this great program, Wonderful Dogs, and of course, there is a whole segment of society that if it wasn't for dogs, seeing eye dogs, they perhaps would not be able to enjoy life as much as we do. And we are delighted at MPT that a number of our programs now are closed captioned. What that means for you and I who are able to hear normally is that right on the bottom of the screen, the physically impaired individuals in our viewing community are being able to enjoy the programs along with you. And we have a number just for them and a TTY phone number here, and we've gotten some pledges from them. We appreciate it. So pledge now for all those people as well. This is MPT, my public TV station. Please make it yours. We thank you for your support.
If you would prefer to mail your contribution, please send it to Membership, Owings Mills, Maryland, 21117.
Today's broadcast costs are underwritten in part by a grant from Team Xerox, a world leader in document processing. Whether it's creating, copying, filing, or distributing, we document the world.
John Wayne Standing Tall is made possible by this and other public television stations nationwide, which depend upon your support. Additional funding has been provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Our land isn't just made up of mountains and hills and valleys, any more than a tree stands tall because of its outstretched branches and colorful leaves. It's what's at the root of it that matters. And so it is with this land we call ours. Like a giant tree, it sprung out of the wilderness. And the way west was cleared by men who, by guts and by God, mastered it all. No man who ever entered the West was the same again. And neither was the land, and neither are we. It's our heritage. It's your land and it's mine. It's the only land we'll ever have, and it's good enough for me.
John Wayne made many of his finest movies right here in Monument Valley, from Stagecoach to The Searchers. He played so many of our legendary heroes that he became kind of a legend himself. He and his movies, like this place, have become part of our national heritage. I think it's because John Wayne, the man, stood up for what he believed in. And John Wayne, the actor, played those roles that showed a man struggling to do what he thought was right. That was Duke, all right. Up front with everybody, and no apologies for anything.
And I remember once he said to me, "Hank, you old son of a bitch, always tell it like it is, because then tomorrow you won't be wondering what you were lying about yesterday."
One night I was in the Costa Brava with him, and he decided we ought to go slumming. So we got us a taxi, and we went all up and down that coastline, just walking into saloons and things. Of course, people recognized him right away. But I think it was one of the most fun nights he ever had.
He was a very dedicated, loyal American, and as to his political philosophy, I would say he was quite conservative, probably as much conservative as I am.
Now, I grew up on John Wayne movies, and to be honest with you, that's the epitome of America. He is Mr. America to me.
Well, of course, Humphrey Bogart was super cool. And James Cagney, tough. A tough little monkey. And then you had Alan Ladd. He was a tough guy, too. He could punch you in the ankle. You had Clark Gable, of course, who had a very strong personality.
And then you had John Wayne, who was, I guess, everybody combined. John Wayne could beat the hell out of a lot of them.
He rode in saddles where no one rode before. He fought in battles from shore to shore. And like a man answering destiny, he stands a hero above them all. He charted oceans, defended his beliefs with strong emotions, with tender love. And like a man answering destiny, he stands a hero above them all. Above them all.
Together. And it was he who suggested me for Matt Dillon on the television series Gunsmoke. A real friend. He was honest, strong, independent, and proud. Exactly the kind of man he portrayed in his final film, The Shootist, where he plays a dying gunfighter. It has become both the end of an era in movie making and, in a way, the story of his life. Like the character, Duke faced many a showdown, more with raw courage than with foresight, in the true spirit of the American hero. We didn't know it then, but John Wayne was telling us the rules he had lived by, on screen and off, for the last time.
I won't be wronged, I won't be insulted, I won't be laid a hand on. I don't do these things to other people, and I require the same from them.
But how could you get into so many fights and then always come out on top? I nearly tied you shooting.
Friend, there's nobody up there shooting back at you. It isn't always being fast or even accurate that counts. It's being willing. I found out early that most men, regardless of cause or need, aren't willing. They blink an eye or draw a breath before they pull a trigger. I won't.
While he was making the shootist, he talked to Dick Cavett about his love of the movie business.
Well, you know, you get toward the end of a picture and you say, I'm gonna take a year off.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 weeks go by, and you're starting to look around and say, I wonder if there's a good script around any place.
So you do get a little antsy.
I want to work all the time. Yeah. I enjoy it. It's my life.
John Wayne had a long and enormously successful career. He made over 200 movies in 50 years and produced and directed some of them. His films are still making money, and they've grossed over $700 million. Duke always worked hard to support his large family, and he wanted them beside him. He demanded loyalty and respect from his friends and from strangers, too. He would stand up and fight for his country, right or wrong. And he reserved the right to tell whoever would listen if he didn't like the way the country was being run. It was the good old Midwestern code of behavior his father had taught him. Marion Michael Morrison, a strapping 13-pound baby, was born in Winterset, Iowa in 1907, the son of a pharmacist and his strong-willed wife. The family moved from Iowa and homesteaded on a small ranch near the Mojave Desert. But the hard life drew them back to civilization, Glendale, California. The good-looking new boy in town was nicknamed Duke by the local firemen and became one of the stars of the high school football team. He won a scholarship to the University of Southern California and began working summers at the Fox movie studios, doing everything from sweeping up to moving props for the directors. One of them was the great John Ford.
Well, Mr. Ford says, so you're a football player, and well, playing at USC. He said, see how you get down. So I got down, braced on my forearms and my feet, and he just kicked my arms out from under me and stuck my nose in that mud that they'd made for Mother McCree, and I'll tell you, it wasn't the sod of old Ireland, and it really hurt. So, not being interested in a motion picture career at that time, I said, let's try it again. Well, it's hard for one fella on the line to take out anybody when they can move wide on you. So, as I thought he would, he started to go around this side, and I just whirled and kicked him, hit him in the chest, and shot him down on the part that goes over the fence last. And he looked up with a little surprise, and there was a deadly silence, and right then was a deciding point in my career in motion pictures.
It was the right kind of start for their friendship. Ford was a bully on the set and a buddy in the bar. He gave Duke a bit part in the silent film Hangman's House. Duke left USC in 1929 and chose a career in the movies. He played a midshipman in Salute and a college student in Words and Music. In 1930, director Raoul Walsh was considering him for the lead in The Big Trail, an epic Western. He gave Marion Morrison a new name, John Wayne, and thought he was helping the young man by sending him to an acting coach.
There was one of these dialogue directors that had been sent out, and he said, you go to him twice a week. There's a line in the picture where this fella can't go on with the train, and he's been with it for 6 months going across the desert, and in the distance is the Great White Mountain, and he's supposed to, with sentiments, say, well, Zach, when you get there, tell the Great White Mountain hello for me. But this guy was using the cape in every line, and he had me out saying, tell the Great White Mountain hello for me. And so after Walsh found that out, he gave me the test and finally the part.
Tell that Great White Mountain hello for me. Goodbye, Zeke.
The Big Trail was a box office flop. All thoughts of stardom vanished, and Duke began a simple struggle to stay in the movie business. He played more college boys and more cowboys, saving girls from runaway horses. And because he could do his own stunts, he was perfect for adventure serials, like the 12-part Hurricane Express. He took whatever parts he could get, waiting, hoping for his big break, sometimes sharing the screen with starlets on the way up, like Barbara Stanwyck. But it was the Western, often produced one a week, that paid his bills. Wayne tried everything, including singing.
Up your guns, outlaws, cinch 'em on tight. There'll be blood a-running in town before night. There'll be guns singing Sandy. You'll be drinking.
Most notorious gunman since Billy the Kid.
But even an aspiring actor knows when to say cut.
Make it fast, Slippery. This is your last draw.
For nearly 10 years, John Wayne made at least 6 pictures a year, most of them B-westerns, learning his craft the hard way. By 1937, he was 30 years old, his hopes for stardom were fading, and he was sick of cheap cowboy movies and fast buck producers. One weekend, his hard-drinking, card-playing buddy, John Ford, took Duke out on his yacht and let him read a screenplay. It would turn out to be a winning hand for both of them. Played out right here in Monument Valley.
They were staying at a trading post that I visited very often. I ran a trading post myself, farther to the west than that place, and I went up there several days just to watch them, and it was a lot different making movies then than it is today. They actually never had any script that I know of. They would just sit around and say, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Okay, go out and do it. And they'd go out and do it.
Hold it!
Oh, steady, ho.
You know, Ford would probably have picked on Wayne all the time. I'm sure that he did on Stagecoach, because Wayne told me that he kind of picked on him. And that Wayne thought it was his way of getting the rest of the cast to be on Wayne's side and kind of help him, because this was the first time he'd done such an important role.
Well, a big scene came up, and he just bawled me out to where finally all the actors, the cast was completely on my side. And from then on, I had the cast helping me, you know, as my first time really in the big time, working with so many top people.
Look, kid, why don't you try to escape? There's a horse out there in the corral. Curly won't go after you because he can't leave the passengers in a fix like this.
I gotta go to Lordsburg. Why don't you go to my ranch and wait for me?
Wait for a dead man. Haven't got a chance. It was 3 against 1 when the plumbers swore that you killed their foreman. Got you sent up. It'll be 3 against 1 in Lordsburg.
Well, there's some things a man just can't run away from.
The Ringo Kid was a perfect role for John Wayne, capitalizing on his natural combination of toughness and innocence. Stagecoach became a classic, restoring the Western to Hollywood's A-list, and John Wayne at last had become a star. But all was not well at home. His relationship with his wife was in serious trouble. He'd married Josephine Saenz in 1933, after a long courtship and against her family's wishes. They had 4 children during those early tough years, but her need for a quiet home life and his work hard, play hard lifestyle wouldn't mix. Duke and Josie separated, but he kept in close touch with his children, a loyal father. Meanwhile, beautiful women came into his life, always one at a time. There were really very few, considering he was one of the most attractive new stars in Hollywood. Marlene Dietrich was one of them. They made 3 films together.
For you.
In the next few years, he tried to expand his range of roles, playing in everything from a Eugene O'Neill drama to swashbuckling adventures. He kept on making westerns, of course, and wasn't too happy about it, even when he worked with his screen idol, Harry Carey.
When they were making Shepherd of the Hills, they were sitting on the set, and my dad was sitting off by himself, and Duke came over to my mom, and they started talking, and he started grousing about the fact that he wanted to play more variety on the screen, that he felt that he was falling into a niche that was just, he was the same in every picture, and that was bothering him. My mom said, now wait a minute. She said, you're a big, good-looking outdoor guy. You're more or less in the mold of Harry. And she pointed over to my father, who was sitting quite a little ways away, and she said, would you want to see him change on the screen? And Duke went, well, hell no, not in any way. And she said, well, that's the way you are.
It was important advice, and he knew it. He approached the Western with new enthusiasm, and for the first time, produced his own film. It was Angel and the Bad Man, and he romanced Gail Russell, on set and off.
If I go away, you go with me. If I go away, they go with me.
The movie wasn't a great success, but it didn't discourage Duke. He would produce again someday. He returned to Monument Valley with John Ford to make Fort Apache, fighting it out with the Indians and Henry Fonda.
I don't see them, not a one.
Well, they're down there, sir, among the rocks.
Have you seen them, Captain?
I don't have to, I know.
How?
'Cause if I were Cochise, that's where I'd take up position.
And that dust cloud beyond?
It's an Apache trick. Probably squaws and children dragging mesquite.
Very ingenious, Captain. You make me suspect your Cochise has studied under Alexander the Great, or Bonaparte at the least. Gentlemen, march your troops. We're charging the column of fours.
Mounted in fours? That's suicide, Colonel. I tell you, they're
York!
down there.
Captain York, you're relieved of command of your troop. There's no room in this regiment for a coward.
At your service, sir.
Duke plays a cavalry officer nearing retirement in She Wore a Yellow Ribbon.
We filmed Yellow Ribbon in Monument Valley. And I'll never forget it because John Ford made us drive from Albuquerque. He wanted us to get sort of the atmosphere and so forth, and it was a terrible trip. We stayed at Goulding's trading post, and it was a very comfortable location, except when Ford got us out in the elements and, you know, on horseback and waited for the rain, waited for the storm.
He has a great keen sense of when a thing is sentimental and when it is maudlin. And he's not afraid of those kind of scenes. As a matter of fact, one of the things that he told me early in my career was, Duke, you're going to get a lot of scenes during your life that are going to seem corny to you. And he said, play them to the hill. If it's East Lynn, play it. And he says, you'll get by with it. But if you start trying to play it with your tongue in your cheek and getting cute, you'll lose size yourself and the scene will be lost.
A small token from the troop. They all put in the hat for it, sir. Even Sergeant Hochbauer. It's solid silver, sir. Brought on from Kansas City. There's a sentiment on the back of it.
To Captain Brittles from C Troop. Lest we forget. Thank you, Corporal. Thank you. Thank all of you.
Captain Brittles was one of Duke's best roles and one of his favorites. But the role that changed John Wayne's screen presence forever is Tom Dunson in Red River, directed by Howard Hawks. Duke's performance is now recognized as one of the greatest in any Western film.
Cherry was right. You're soft. You should have let him kill me, because I'm going to kill you. I'll catch up with you. I don't know when, but I'll catch up. Every time you turn around, expect to see me. There's one time you'll turn around and I'll be there. I'll kill you, Matt.
I was impressed by Red River when it came out. It's quintessential American, and it foreshadows the whole 60s. The conflict between John Wayne and Montgomery Clift is the two Americas right there encapsulated. Clift, the anarchic, modern, individualistic, slightly depraved, self-absorbed narcissist, and Wayne, the obsessed, old order, reacting against this person. And that tension between those two actors is one of the most brilliant things.
Go on, draw. I said draw. And I'll make you. You're soft.
All right, for 14 years I've been scared, but it's gonna be all right.
Get up. Come on, get up.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop making a holy... Stop it, I said. What a fool I've been. Expected trouble for days when anybody with half a mind would know you two love each other. It took somebody else to shoot you. He wouldn't do it. Are you hurt?
No, just nick the bat.
Then stay still. No, don't stay still. I changed my mind. Go ahead. Beat each other crazy. Maybe it'll put some sense in both of you. Go ahead. Go on. Do it. Use this. No, you can't. It's his.
You better marry that girl, Matt.
Yeah, I think I... When are you gonna stop telling people what to do?
Right now. At least as soon as...
When?
As soon as I tell you one thing more.
What?
When we get back to the ranch, I want you to change the brand. It'll be like this. Red River D. We'll add an M to it. You don't mind that, do you?
No.
You've earned it.
Stay tuned as John Wayne goes to war in the movies and fights his own political battles.
I'm sure going to stay tuned. I
Me
love
too,
this.
yeah, oh,
yeah,
yeah.
we grew up with John. We were about the same age. We grew up watching John Wayne back in those B movies on Saturday afternoon with the double features.
You got an A movie, you got a B movie, you got a serial, you got cartoons, the newsreel, whatever.
Extra added attractions.
The extra added attractions. Oh, I'll tell you, that was
all for a quarter.
That's right, a bag of entertainment, I want to tell you.
Oh, yeah. You know, the most entertainment per minute is right here now on MPT.
It sure is.
And dollar for dollar, MPT and public television do more with their financial resources than any other network on television today. Hello, I'm Jack Bowden here with Stu Kerr. And it really is a pleasure to be here enjoying John Wayne standing tall with you tonight. The only thing better than...
In part 3, John Wayne wins an Oscar and battles cancer with true grit and real courage.
I hope you're enjoying this program.
In the West, riding alone, standing tall. That's how we remember Duke best. He always seemed larger than life, the ultimate hero. But if you look at his films, he's usually the underdog or a loner trying to resolve something in his past. Yes, he wins, but almost always at a high cost to himself. That's the kind of character he played when he worked with director John Ford here in Monument Valley in 1955. He plays Ethan Edwards in The Searchers. It's one of John Wayne's most haunting and memorable films.
I think it was the strongest performance that he gave in his whole life. He stayed into that character even when he was off the screen. He didn't kid around as much on that picture as he did on other shows. He didn't laugh as much. He was really into that character of Ethan Edwards. And, you know, he was this hard-bitten, bitter man, really a racist, you know, a terrible racist about, towards the Indians.
I found Lucy back in the canyon. Wrapped her in my coat, buried her with my own hands. Thought it best to keep it from you.
Today, what was she? What do you want me to do? Draw you a picture? Spell it out? Don't ever ask me.
The Searchers is the one film where he goes too far in the rage and the violence within him. His brother has been killed. His brother's wife, he was secretly in love with, has been killed. His brother's whole family has been wiped out, except the girl who we soon find out has grown up among the Indians.
These are my people. Und mehr. Go. Go, Martin, please.
Stand aside, Martin.
No, you don't, Ethan. Ethan, no, you don't!
Stand aside.
He's about to throttle her because she's turned into an Indian. She has been assimilated by the Indians, by the Comanches. And then he can't, and he embraces her, and it's this wonderful scene of redemption.
Let's go home, Debbie.
And one of Harry Carey's stances was grabbing his elbow and just looking off, and he always seemed like such a lonely character to me.
Right away. Right
Because Ford made a movie about a character like Ethan in The Searchers doesn't mean that Ford agreed with the character. In order to make a film, he had to show a certain kind of person. Wayne, on the other hand, his politics were quite out front, and he continued to be out front about it. Ford at one point was quoted as saying, you know, "I love that damn Republican."
Duke never dodged the tough questions, even though he knew his answers would be unpopular and probably misinterpreted. The subject of Indian rights was always a reporter's favorite.
I know the terrible thing that we did was to put them on reservations. That's takes a man's human dignity away from him, takes his desire to better himself away from him. That's what they want to do with that cradle-to-grave socialism. They'll have our whole country like that if we keep paying all our taxes for these minorities that you're provoking.
He repeated those views in a famous Playboy interview. So when Duke appeared on a Bob Hope show, they worked it into a skit.
Come in, baby.
Injuns! It's a raid! Hide the women and children! The wagons! Form a circle! Now hold it right there or I'll tickle your teepee with buckshot.
Oh, hush up. Now, give me that gun.
It's my fault. I should never have taken her to see the Battle of the Alamo.
Losing one picture, and that's all they remember.
Western movies began to change in the late 50s. They became town westerns instead of stories about long cattle drives and Indian fights. Directors like Howard Hawks knew that the audience would relate best to stories in a setting they recognized. And for most people, that was a town, no matter how small. There were new kinds of women for Duke to deal with, too.
Here's a handbill about a gambler they're interested in catching up with. You know him? Says he had a girl with him. Says the girl's about 22, 5 foot 5 inches tall. Good figure. Brown hair and wears feathers. No, the man isn't our friend in the checkered vest, but you could be the girl.
Yes, I could be. As a matter of fact, I am. Howard Hawks liked picking a new woman. He told me that the reason he liked it was because the other ones were too difficult. And I can see what he would mean, because now if I were to get that same job, I would be more difficult because I'd have more bad habits that he couldn't get rid of. Howard wanted a certain rhythm or non-rhythm. I was so new and green and unskilled, so between the two of us, Hawks had quite a hard time getting our scenes. I'm glad we tried it a second time. Better when two people do it. Well, I've kept you long enough. You better run along now and do your job.
The new breed of Western woman was more aggressive and often left him speechless. After Rio Bravo, Duke made 8 major movies and did cameo appearances in The Longest Day and How the West Was Won. He was exhausted and working hard to pay his Alamo debts. He had a terrible cough and couldn't shake it. But he and Pilar headed for Spain to make Circus World.
That park's gone. It's out of control. We gotta make a fire break if we're gonna save any of this tent.
There was quite an accident when he was making Circus World. Apparently, one of the tents caught on fire. Nobody told him, come on, you know, it's time to get out of here. And he just kind of stuck around until the smoke got really bad. And at the last minute, he escaped. But by that time, it had caused serious damage to his lungs. And he really, literally could not get his air. I was not at the set at the time, but when he came home, I could see that this guy was a sick man.
The medical exam he had after the fire may have saved his life. He was diagnosed as having lung cancer and was operated on immediately. Studio publicists lied about his condition.
Duke being a friend, I went over to see him, and I was met at the door by a nurse, and she says, well, Mr. Wayne is not receiving any visitors. Well, Duke heard my voice, and as only Duke could say, he says, let the SOB in. So I go in there, and I'm no sooner in, and Duke says, well, Jim, I licked the big C. And I said, the big C? Gee, that's the first I'd heard about it. I'd fallen for the leg injury story. And he says, yeah, he said, they took a tumor off my lung, as big as a baseball. He says, but I've licked it. He says, I said, Duke, we should have a story on that because it's a great thing for cancer sufferers to know that John Wayne has licked cancer. He says, well, he says, Hal Wallace, the producer, has got a picture coming out, and they want me to not say anything about it because it might hurt business. He says, just sit on the story, and I'll let you know when you can use it. Well, it's an amazing thing. When I broke my story, Duke, within 1 week, got 50,000 letters from people suffering from cancer and saying how inspired they were.
Did you do a lot of praying at that point in your life, or are you a
Listen,
prayer?
I've prayed more than once in my life, but I felt a little closer to that man upstairs at that time, and sure wished he'd give me a hand, and if it worked out in his plan for things. And luckily it did.
But
These
you went back
doctors were
to
great.
smoking. I know a lot of your friends. They said you went back
Well,
to
I went back to, I don't know that
cigars. You were smoking
smoking
cigars.
gave me cancer.
Well, you don't know that it didn't either.
No. Well, I mean, the same thing. I mean, lots of people have been killed stepping off a curb. I didn't stop stepping off of curbs.
20 years after that operation, the findings of attorneys filing lawsuits for Utah residents hinted at what might have caused Duke's cancer. John Wayne had shot a film, The Conqueror, in St. George, Utah in 1954. Less than a year before, the area had been exposed to radioactive fallout from a bomb they nicknamed Dirty Harry, along with 10 other atomic shots. The government had assured director Dick Powell that it was safe. So day after day, the 220 actors and extras battled in the sand.
They were in Utah, about 100 miles from the Nevada Proving Ground. And first, I think it was Dick Powell died of cancer. And then Pedro Armendariz got cancer. Agnes Moorehead. Duke. And then all of a sudden, Jesus, it all came together, you know. I thought, gee, you know, here's this radiation and all these people dying. And I checked into it and found out 70 people on that movie died of cancer, and God knows how many extras, because they hired thousands of Indians to play Mongols, and there's never been any record kept of them, but there's been 70 people, the cast and crew of that picture, died from cancer.
Duke went back to work just 3 months after losing a lung. He made 6 movies in 4 years, and then, at age 61, got the role he was born to play, Rooster Cogburn in the film True Grit, with a screenplay by Marguerite Roberts.
My politics and John Wayne's politics couldn't be more different. He was a very conservative man, a terrific patriot, and I was a blacklisted writer. I was blacklisted for 10 years. And I was back in pictures and working, and when he heard that I was on the script of True Grit, and his friends heard, they tried to talk him into going to Wallace and getting me off the script. But he waited till he read the script, and he liked the script, and he said, to hell with you, to his friends, and he refused to say anything at all about me working on it. He was really remarkable. Rooster Cogburn was a drunk, and Wayne played him as a drunk and a dirty old guy, fat guy.
I mean to kill you in 1 minute, Ned, or see you hanged in Fort Smith at Judge Parker's convenience. Which will it be?
I call that bold talk for a one-eyed fat man.
Fill your hand, you son of a bitch!
No grit, Rooster Cogburn, not much.
The book sort of just ended, it sort of drifted off, and Mattie Ross and Rooster Cogburn were so important that they should have been the absolute focus for the ending, and they weren't in the book. Yeah. So I made that ending, where Rooster comes to visit her, and she invites him to be buried in their family plot.
You have no kin. I do not count Chinley and the cat. Now where else would you end up, in some neglected patch of weeds?
Well, now I might just take you up on that offer, sis. If you'll excuse me if I don't try to move in too soon.
Trust you to buy another tall horse.
Yeah. He's not as game as Bo, but Stonehill says he can jump a 4-rail fence.
You're too old and too fat to be jumping horses.
Well, come to see a fat old man sometime. Yeah!
The winner is John Wayne in True Grit.
I'd have known that, I'd have put that patch on 35 years earlier. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm no stranger to this podium. I've come up here and picked up these beautiful golden men before, but always for friends. One night I picked up two, one for Admiral John Ford, one for our beloved Gary Cooper. I was very clever and witty that night, the envy of even Bob Hope. But tonight I don't feel very clever, very witty. I feel very grateful, very humble. And all thanks to many, many people.
After True Grit, he went relentlessly on to make a dozen more films, working with some of the great ladies of Hollywood and Broadway.
There are some of us who, you know, were raised in the method and so on, and there's been a lot of discussion by great teachers saying that the Duke was a method actor, taking purely from himself and always playing the same thing. I think Duke is an American phenomenon. We do have some that are. He is a really American phenomena. This is the way the American man feels he should be.
To the movie-going public, John Wayne is the symbol of masculinity. Miss Hepburn, you are the symbol of the independent, liberated woman.
Why didn't you just say femininity?
Yeah, why didn't you? Because that's what she is.
That is true, that is true. But it's kind of a...
She is the most feminine thing that I've worked with in about 45 years.
I'm feminine enough to make him sweet, you see. That's because I'm Cajun.
Yeah, she's pretty cute, I'll tell you that. She makes you feel good all day.
It does a lot, then I take it, for both of you.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It's nice to have a man who's a man.
Duke and Pilar separated in 1973. Their three children had held them together, but the demands of his career and location shooting away from home finally ended it. They were never divorced, but Duke was not a man to live out his life alone.
Well, he did care about public opinion, some of the things that were said. He didn't care that the world knew about our relationship. But the things that, pardon me, the National Enquirer or the Star, some of those things that they printed that we said, we had never even spoken to them. And then on one occasion, I think it was I don't know, one of the papers, I won't mention the name, had written something, and Duke asked me, he said, you write him and tell him I want a retraction, or I'm going to sue them. And I called the guy, and he said, fine, we'll retract it if you'll get us an interview with John Wayne. And you're probably not going to put this in, but Duke said, you tell him I said go to hell, and they'll never get an interview with me. Of course, it was very exciting to be around Duke, not just for his personality and the type person he was, but it was also very exciting to go places with him. He used to tell me that he loved taking me places. He said, Pat, I've already seen this time and time again. He said, but I love seeing it through your eyes. He said, it makes me feel young again. When he got the script for The Shootist, he was excited about it, and it never crossed his mind at the time that this was going to be his last picture, and that he would later be dying of cancer, which was what happened with the person in The Shootist.
Why don't you just say it, flat out?
All right. You have a cancer. Advanced. Damn. I'm sorry, folks.
You told me I was strong as an ox.
Well, even an ox died.
I remember the things that he didn't like about the script, and they did a lot of rewrites on it.
Look out!
Ron Howard, who played the young boy, at the end of the picture was still supposed to end up being a bad boy. that was rewritten so that the influence that he had on this kid turned his life around to make him, you know, come out to be one of the good guys.
We'd gone on his boat out to Catalina. He told me he'd sold the boat and this is our last trip. So we went out there. I think there was just he and his secretary and my wife and the regular crew. So we stayed 4 days, but he wasn't feeling good at all. And of course, he went out on his whaler. That was those little boats he had, and we were out on one of them, and he's trying to tell me how they'd gotten all the cancer, and he was so happy about it, which of course was bravo. But then we went back to his home, and we stayed with him a night or two, playing cards and visiting, just sitting out and visiting. And on that morning, we got ready to go home. He had Pontiac people always gave him a car every year. So he pulled around to the front door, and I had a feeling this might be our last visit. So we gave one another that big Mexican embraccio. And he said, wait a minute. And then he went back and came out with this big Panama, and I still have it, put it on my head, like a cowboy's farewell.
Duke died on June 11, 1979. Mourned around the world by 3 generations of movie fans and friends. You know, Duke knew everything about making movies, and he'd be as excited about a new project as a kid. And if you were working with him, you better be as bright-eyed and bushy-tailed as he was. Duke was generous and genuinely kind to everyone, family, friends, co-workers, even the fans who wrote to him for money with the darndest stories you ever heard. He was that kind of a guy. Duke was the most patriotic man I ever knew. He could tear into the government like a Bengal tiger, but you didn't badmouth America while he was around. Shortly before his death, Congress voted to award him a special medal. And the inscription read simply, John Wayne, American. Duke never expected or wanted to be a legend. But when it happened, he lived up to it. You can bet there'll never be another one like him.
The Old West, the Wild West, is long gone. But that doesn't matter. What does matter is that nothing ever dies if folks don't want it to.
If I'm going to send some neighbor's kid out to be killed, I'll be willing at least to risk my life to save a few of those boys. So I think we should have won it about 4 years ago at about 1/4 of the loss of men and had the respect of the world. Instead of that, we pussyfoot around, and now we're trying to get out of it without being a disgrace.
I shoot off my mouth once in a while more than I should, probably, as I've done here a couple of times. But everybody has that right in this country, thank God.
John Wayne Standing Tall. What a wonderful show. Now, this is the way TV should be. A program for the entire family. You know, it seems there are fewer and fewer things families can do together, even watching TV, on which we spend so much time. Can't always be a family affair because of program content. But MPT programs like John Wayne Standing Tall are different. They are appealing to almost everyone in the family. And if just once throughout a week you can find a program that you watch together, then we have done a great service. Now the question is, can we, MPT and you, continue to provide these opportunities for family gatherings? Is it worth $1.25 a week? Well, that's why I'm here tonight. I'm Jack Bowden. And on behalf of the MPT family, I'm inviting you, encouraging you to join. You can decide the amount you want to give, though I can tell you that many families choose to give $60. That's only $5 a month. We need good TV today, and there is simply not enough of it. You can help by calling in your pledge right now. And if you've never called before, it's easy to do. Call 1-800-248-MPTV. That's 1-800-248-6788. But dial carefully. It's an 800 number, 1-800-248-6788. Someone will answer the phone, a volunteer who believes, as you do, in the benefits of great TV. Tell us your name, address, and the amount you'd like to give. We hope you'll be generous, but it's entirely up to you to decide the amount you want to give. Then we'll send you a reminder statement in the mail unless you use your Visa or MasterCard and charge your pledge. You know, charging your pledge helps MPT even more. We'll even send you a free gift for saying MPT is my public TV, a 20th anniversary keychain. Will you join our family now? We really do need you. So keep those phones ringing back there. And remember, every time you hear that little bell ring back there, not the phone, but the little bell, that means somebody has pledged $90 or more. We'd like to hear from you. Stu?
$1.25 a week for great television. That's incredible, Jack.
It really is, isn't it?
You know, in watching this show and hearing John Wayne being interviewed or seeing him accept an award, it almost seems like he could kick down a door and clean out a bar at the same time, just the way he does it. It's a great one. Stay tuned. We've got another great show. D-Day, The Great Crusade. Isn't it great that each day gives us a new chance of a fresh start? You know something I do? I'll drive to work and look at a road and say, you know, I've never been down that street before. And I'll turn the car and go down. You ever done that? You know, something different. Start all over again. The old axiom, today's the first day of the rest of your life, continues to be as vibrant a thought as it ever was. And what have you done with this day to make it count? What has made a difference in your day today? I'll give you a chance to think about it. Well, why not do this? Why not make this day the day you act on your impulse to support MPT? Now remember, I know exactly what you're saying. You're sitting there. Yeah, you know something? He's right. He's weird, but he's right. I've been watching this guy for years, and he's been saying this to me, and I've never gotten up from the chair and gone to the phone. Make this the day you've always referred to as tomorrow. Yeah, you know, yeah, I'll probably call and pledge tomorrow. Make this the day that you put your money where your mind is and support the most mind-stretching programs on TV anywhere. Make this the day you give back just a little of what you received from your enjoyment of our great program service. I'm asking you because, quite frankly, about 12 years ago, I was mentioning this to Jack. That's what I did. You know, I said, fine, you know, they're talking to me. But now I'm on this side of the camera, and you're at home, and I hope you make that decision. There's a call right now. Maybe we did it just with this conversation. Make this the day that makes you call and makes the difference. Call now, join us. Make MPT my public TV, and on this day, yours as well. Susan?
Stu, it really is important that the viewers watching public television make a commitment to call in their pledge so that we can continue the quality program.